welcome into NFL Total Access and welcome to my apartment. I'm your host, Colleen Wolfe, on this final day of April. Hope everybody is safe and at home, and that is where we find Mike Garafolo to start off our show today, starting with the Bengals and someone who is no longer a Bengal at this point after almost 10 seasons. Mike, Andy Dalton is no longer there.
Yeah, still a lot of respect for Andy Dalton inside the Bengals building. And perhaps if they didn't have the #1 overall pick, which was a slam dunk with Joe Burrow, and maybe they were in the situation of some of the teams behind them, maybe they take a defensive player and they roll forward with Andy Dalton. I mean, that's how much they still thought of him. But they just had to take Burrow, and everybody knew what that meant for Dalton's future. Now, they told Dalton all along the way that they were going to work with him to try to get a trade partner, but once it became clear that that wasn't going to happen and it came through the draft, Dalton said, hey, can I get my walking papers? I want to go see if I can find my new team, because he would have come along with that $17 million salary in a trade. So now he has his freedom and the chance to go test the market, and I would imagine that he might find a new home within a week, Colleen. Could be that quickly for him.
Oh, a week. All right. So listen, he's 32 years old. He didn't have that great of a situation towards the end of his career in Cincinnati, considering A.J. Green missed 29 games since 2016. The Bengals defense has given up 24 points per game since that same year. And you have John Ross, who's missed as many games as he's played in his career. But where could some of those landing spots be for Dalton?
Well, let's go right to Jacksonville, because there is an interest in Jacksonville, certainly an interest from Jay Gruden, the former offensive coordinator in Cincinnati with Andy Dalton, now the offensive coordinator for the Jaguars. So we'll see if that winds up being the landing spot. I know a lot of folks are throwing the Patriots out there. I wouldn't necessarily rule them out, but they really haven't seemed to be in a rush to bring in a quarterback from the outside other than Brian Hoyer, who has already been there. So Jarrett Stidham still looks like he's got a path to the starting job for the Patriots. Now, I do know that there are some other teams that have been in communication already with Dalton's camp, so wouldn't be surprised if there's a sleeper out there. I don't necessarily know enough to name them right now, but we'll see, because if my timeline is correct, this thing could bubble up and happen quickly for Dalton, with a chance to go in somewhere and at least compete, maybe competing with Gardner Minshew or someone of that ilk. Won't be the unquestioned starter at this point in his career, though.
Yeah. Maybe throw Denver in there as well. I mean, they already have a Bengals backup quarterback there in Jeff Driscoll. So we'll see where Andy Dalton lands. Jeezy, thank you so much. And now go be on Andy Dalton watch. We'll talk to you later. Let's bring in our coach, Steve Mariucci, here. All right, so Mooch, now that Andy Dalton is gone from Cincinnati, how do the Bengals prepare Joe Burrow at this point to become their starter?
Well, Zach Taylor, Colleen, and Brian Callahan have got to get busy with all of these virtual meetings, and I just want to keep the Bengals, hopes just realistic too, because for a first pick in the draft quarterback to be successful in this league, very difficult, because the team needs a lot of help. For example, Troy Aikman was 0-11, Peyton Manning was 3-13, and Alex Smith was 2-5. Only Andrew Luck had a winning record in the Super Bowl era, so it's a long shot, but they're going to get him ready with virtual meetings. Cut-ups, all right? Have you heard of cut-ups? You're talking about plays, maybe 10 or 12 plays on video against various coverages as a teaching tool. I have right here in my office, Bill Walsh or myself, installing the West Coast offense in training camp. Those are kind of things that they can be sent to these players so they can start learning it before they get on the field. And then eventually they'll get on the field and start doing passing trees with their skill positions.
All right, listen, I'm excited to hear what your draft grade is for the Bengals. That's coming up a little later in the show, along with draft grades for the entire AFC North. But let's keep it right now with the quarterbacks, because Ron Rivera appeared on Good Morning Football today. And when asked about Dwayne Haskins, Rivera said, look, after listening in on some Zoom meetings with the quarterbacks, it's good to watch Haskins grow. But Rivera was also asked about another quarterback, Cam Newton, and he didn't exactly shut the door on it.
We're in a situation where we've got two really young quarterbacks. One that's been with us, been in the system, understands how we want things done. And the other one's a guy that was taken last year in the first round. It shows some promise. If you go back and break Dwayne down, you see a lot of positive things. I think with Cam, and I have thought about it. I mean, it's something that has run through my mind. And it's about the situation and circumstances. I'm not sure if I would do it. I'm not sure if I wouldn't do it. It's just, again, depends on circumstances.
So, Mooch, the Redskins already brought in Kyle Allen from the Panthers. Should they bring in Cam Newton, too, at this point?
You know, a few weeks ago, I was kind of standing on the table for Ron to bring in Cam Newton. They have quite a history together, right? They went to the Super Bowl. Cam was the MVP of the league. Ron Rivera was the coach of the year twice with Cam, but that's when Cam was healthy. So evidently they figured, you know, that signing Kyle Allen, Cam's backup, who played pretty well at times last year, started off 5-1, ended up 5-7. They thought maybe he would be best to help bring in this system. Scott Turner comes as the offensive coordinator. He brings in Norv's playbook and Norv's DNA, and they're gonna go with, I think, competition between Kyle Allen and Dwayne Haskins. You know, I can't see him adding Cam right now. 3 quarterbacks and sharing the reps right now in the situation that we're in with limited practice time might not be in their best interest. So I think right now compete Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen, who knows the system, and get in camp, see who's best and wins the job first. I don't know if they're going to sign Cam.
Yeah, Mooch, there's so many unknowns at this point with the season ahead, and not to mention Cam's health as well. So if it doesn't happen now, it's not necessarily something that might not happen down the line at some point if there is an injury or something like that in Washington. Mooch, thank you. We'll talk to you in a little bit for draft grades.
Okay.
At its core, the AFC North isn't some slick back your hair division. It's more of a pin back your ears division, long defined by defense and the running game. And the 2020 draft confirms it.
Joe Burrow.
Okay, yes, a few glamour picks thrown in here and there, but out of the 30 total selections, only 6 were quarterbacks and wide receivers. We've got the full recap. We're posting grades too. That's still to come. But first, one GOAT, 2 very different opinions.
I don't know if I want the ball in the Tom Brady's hands at the end of the game anymore. I don't know.
Whoa.
And with that
what?
Next on NFL Total Access.